of course, Jeff and I have obviously spoken as part of the symposium, but most people, you'll be surprised, Jean, I haven't had a conversation with before I start the show. So, Jeff, you want to unmute yourself? Or...
Yes. Good morning, Vikram.
Good morning. How are you?
Terrific. How are you today?
Good. A little early. I actually would not have let you in, but I said that'd be very impolite that you're in the waiting room and I don't let you in. That would have been a little too impolite. So I said, let's get you in. Because that's the way the format has been. I really liked that aspect. That because otherwise it seems scripted. I mean, we've already said hi to each other, then we go live and again say hi to each other. It's just
well, you know, one interesting thing is we're the two from California. We're the first ones here. So we're probably the furthest in distance from you as well, right? Yes. Yeah. Nice to be here with you.
Sometimes actually we should actually put that out, what the distances are, because these days we've forgotten all that now. Everything is about time zones. What time zone are you in?
That's right. That's right. Yes. So
I got to do something about my hair. Hang on. I'll be right back.
But Jean, a Saturday morning for you, is it too early?
It is. It's 7:30 in the morning here, so it's not too early. It looks like it's going to be a beautiful day. The sun is just starting to filter in, and life is good. You know, I did set the alarm for Saturday morning to make sure that I'd be up and moving and ready to go. Yeah.
So good. You're a morning person. So that way it's a nice thing.
It's a nice day. Yes.
But imagine I get the report of the sun. There's a very nice person in Russia, this girl called Elizaveta. She sent me a video that there's a city called Brno, which is, a small place in Russia. So she sends me a little clip telling me that the sun is out today, because for them, the sun coming out is a big thing.
Oh, wow.
So it's,
yeah. Well, we've had some rain and lightning here in the last few days, but now it looks like it's going to be a sunny day maybe today. I have a question for you, if I can turn the tables for a moment. You have golfer in your title.
Yes, that's 1/3 of my life.
A third of your life. I was taken by that.
Hi, Sareh. Sareh, do you say Sareh or Sareh? Sareh.
Sareh. Perfect. Thank you. Hi.
Was I said, Jean, I should put it out there. If it's 1/3 of my life, of course, the sleeping time I haven't written. That's another. It's like 1/4. But if it's important to my life, I said let's put it out there.
I like that. Yes.
Because I've always created that work-life balance. Always. It's something which has been there since the time I started my practice. I was quite clear. Don't pick up everything that you get, because when you start your practice, you get all kinds of work, because being a lawyer, someone says you're a lawyer. Okay, you do this also, you do that also, everything. I said, I'll be very clear about this. Let's not get into everything. You get overloaded, and that's it. But
yeah, smart.
But Sareh, the complaint is that you were coming late, although you were a time. But she's on the same time zone as you, isn't she?
No, I'm EST.
Okay. So
Sareh is outside of Toronto, right? In Canada, yeah.
Okay, so as the sun is rising, they're coming in. It's based on
Back from work, in my defense.
No, it's okay. No one's taking it against you, Sareh. No one's taking it against you. It's just an observation that yes, Jean has got up early. That's the observation.
Yes. We were just talking about that, yeah. And yet it's almost lunchtime in Canada. Midday, maybe, time for tea.
It's 10:30. It's still morning. I mean, some people are still waking up, but yeah.
But
that's really early for you guys.
Yep, nice meeting you. But tell me, the important thing is, have you people seen any of the sessions of the symposium? I do this Woodstock of mediation, and do people actually watch it? Did you see Jeff's session or not? That's the important
part. I saw my session.
Did they see it or not? No, they haven't.
I'm not. I'm mea culpa.
Jean and Sareh, they see enough of me, Vikram. They know all the jokes. They've heard the lines before. It would be redundant for the two of them.
No, because the thing is that, look, like Jean's saying that you, of course, I'm doing quite a bit. I think I put out a lot of content out there, but finally people have to watch it. Hi, Natalie.
Vikram, is there one interview that you think would be, particularly appealing to Gene and me as United States mediators?
In terms of look, there are two shows. There's one called Evolution of a Mediator and the other called In Conversation with a Beautiful Mind. So, of course, we'll get Natalie in because she thinks that she has to keep herself unmuted. Muted. You don't have to keep yourself muted. Natalie, you're part of the conversation. Hi, how are you?
Doing well, thanks. How are you?
Okay, we did start without you, and I let them in before I should have, because I normally let people in only when that time comes in, because the conversation has to start from there. But because I'll tell you where I wanted to start with. I wanted to start with Jeff in his classic style of introduction, that welcome to the new possibilities are, taking from there, and Gene telling us the figure, and we'll take it from there. Please, Jeff, you have to start from there, because it won't seem, I just would not feel comfortable that where am I? Am I talking? Am I with the right team? So Jeff, it's up to you now. You have to start. You know the drill. You totally, I mean, it's all recorded in your mind. So
well,
please.
Good morning, everybody. It's October 9th, 2021, and welcome to this episode of Conversations with a Beautiful Mind, or today, plural, Beautiful Minds. It's one of Vikram's webinars that provides so much value to the mediation and alternative dispute resolution communities, not only in India, where he's located, not only in the United States, where Gene and I are located, not only in Canada, where Sareh is located, not only in France, where Natalie is located, but indeed around the world. And we're really quite honored to be here. Today, Vikram has asked us to come on and talk about the Will Work for Food project, where we ask our audiences to contribute to food banks if they like what they see in our webinars. The program was founded by Natalie Armstrong-Motin in France at the beginning of the pandemic and lockdown in the spring of 2020. And since then, we've put on probably 60 or 70 of these webinars, and our audiences have been so generous. Gene, do you have a sense of about how much money our generous audiences have contributed to food banks worldwide because they did like what they have seen?
Well, I do have a sense of it, but I think that Natalie might have the exact number right there. Do you? Yes, she does. Natalie?
Okay.
I do have the exact number. The exact number as of today's date, Jeff, is $187,830 US.
So that
oh my God.
Okay, not a standing ovation, but we can.
Wow.
Great work, Natalie. So you have to start from there. How did that whole concept start in your mind? Of course, the pandemic was going on and all that was happening. So just a little bit on that.
So the origin of Will Work for Food, Vikram, I have to admit, is completely selfish. I was sort of feeling very isolated and stuck in Europe because the borders had closed around me. And there's a big time difference between myself and my colleagues, my friends, and my family. And like probably everyone else on the planet, I was just watching news program after news program, trying to understand what was happening to us. And I kept seeing these stories of my fellow Americans queued up in just tremendously long lines at food banks that are, across the United States. And probably like most people, my initial response to seeing that kind of struggle was I just wanted to fix it. I just wanted to write a check and give everybody enough that they wouldn't be hungry, that their children didn't have to think, can mommy and daddy take care of me? Or parents have to think, oh, I'll not eat because I need to save that food for my children. Or, all of those kinds of things were going through my mind. And I started to feel really small and really helpless and insignificant. And then I sort of thought to myself, Natalie, that's crazy. That's ridiculous. Snap out of it. You know people, and we could do something. I can't do anything all by myself, but I know enough people in a really generous industry that if I just called and asked for a small favor, they would probably say yes, and I could leverage that into something more. And so it started out just offering free trainings and asking people to donate to their local food bank. And it has grown over time, and not necessarily because of anything that I have done, Vikram. It is almost entirely been on the shoulders of Jeff and Gene, to reach out to influential colleagues and ask them to donate just an hour of their time, and to, make note of their preferred food bank and allow us to record the programs. And then we share it with our colleagues. And then throughout the program, Jean and Jeff remind people that these are valuable programs, that they are provided on a volunteer and free basis, and that if you can spare $1 or $5 or $1,000, to please donate to a local food bank.
Good. So basically, yeah, okay. But basically, a good intention and a good team together reaches out and good work happens. I think that's the good point. I think basically just that little good thought that has to start somewhere and just put it in action. Great. So you got in touch with both of them, and they obviously would have said yes. So what did Jeff think? Jeff, what did you think when Natalie called you up and said, let's do this?
It happened in a curious and gradual and roundabout kind of way, Vikram, where I would start getting these emails from Natalie that she was putting on these webinars on how to market during a pandemic and how to maintain mental health and a positive attitude during the pandemic and things of that nature. And when the lockdown began, we were all, as Natalie said, pretty down, and it was a depressing kind of time. My mediation practice had pretty much ground to a halt. The courts were closed. There was no pressure of trial dates on people to motivate them to get cases settled. And so I was finding that as I was looking for ways to do constructive things during my time, I started tuning into the webinars that Natalie was promoting and starring in and having other wonderful people present. And I thought it was terrific. So I was tuning into these, and I was contributing to food banks along the way, what I could afford to contribute. And then, Natalie, how did it actually start evolving to what we have today? I don't even remember exactly.
So it was maybe a sucker play. I said, Jeff, we've been friends for 2.5 decades. What would it take for me to convince you to be one of the presenters? And you said, oh, no convincing at all. And how can I help you promote it? And, what can I do? And, how can I assist? And I just said, oh, well, since you offer, do you know anybody else who would like to speak?
But all I can tell you, Natalie, even if his mediation practice was not on hold, he would have still said yes. He would have still been part of it.
Oh, yes. And then we started thinking, you were doing these twice a week, Natalie, and we were trying to invite people and do marketing presentations and whatnot twice a week. And we realized that that was a little too much for the audience. That charming though we think we are, twice a week was a bit too much for the audience. So we made it once a week, and we decided that Thursday morning was the best time to do it. And it was a great way to stay in touch with people, to reach out to people who I'd known for a long time. As Natalie mentioned, she and I have known each other and collaborated on various projects for 25 years, more or less, and then reaching out and expanding the network. And almost everybody says yes when you ask them to contribute 1 hour of their time for this very important public service goal of raising money for food banks. And we started to have some really terrific guests and wonderful presentations. Most everybody consented to the recording to be posted on YouTube and other social media after that. And it was really, in a sense, Vikram, it was one of those things that really helped give life meaning during the bleakest days of the pandemic and lockdown in 2020. A good reason to reach out to people, to make human connection, and an opportunity to help out those who were less fortunate, And it's been amazing the way the audiences have responded. When Natalie read that number of $187,000 plus, it just gives me a chill to think that people have been so generous in response to these webinars that we've been providing.
And the good part is that a person sitting in another corner of the world was able to see people. I could actually, hear these people who otherwise I would not have. These webinars have at least opened out, whatever introduction to people, various people from various fields. So many, I think that's been a good thing, at least that whole global aspect of life you can actually see in front of you now. So I think that's been a good thing. But only thing before we go any further, the problem is your timing. You start at what, 8 o'clock your time in Pacific time?
It's 8 o'clock in the morning where
Yes,
Jean and I live in Los Angeles, California. So for us, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. And for Natalie, it's early evening.
Yeah, 5 p.m. for me.
And for Sareh, you're in the Eastern time zone, right?
It's 11 a.m. It's perfect timing.
No, I'll tell you the issue, Jeff. The issue is at 8 o'clock your morning Pacific daylight time is 8:30 India. But the moment now you'll shift into Pacific time is going to become 9:30 India. So I'm just requesting, please keep it a little earlier. It becomes a bit of an issue, You're not really at your listening best at that time.
Well, Vikram, if, on days when I'm presenting, you might consider it a good way to help you fall asleep. A lot of people find listening to me a good way to fall asleep. So you might try that. And of course, that's why we tape record these and post the videos online later, because we know that for people in some parts of the world, it's too early or too late.
What I've noticed is that finally, if you watch something live, you'll watch it. Otherwise, the thing is, once it goes into a recorded mode, there is so much content now. I see the amount of content I put out. I know people would not be able to otherwise. See it over time, maybe, but I think we put too much out. So I think that live, that's why I like to come live, because only thing during the symposium, your timing was clashing with my symposium session. So I could not make it. And I wanted to come earlier and ask you people to come on the show. And I said, I'll do it personally. Sending out an email or a message would be a little impersonal, but it actually clashed with the time of the symposium. So Jean, now you've come in. Now Jeff has started this, he's presenting it. Now you come into the show. So please tell us about that.
Well, I started watching from the very beginning when Natalie was doing the marketing programs and all in the spring of 2020, and then watched it evolve and attended. And anyway, the end of last year, I don't remember now exactly when, November, December, sometime before January 1st, Natalie asked if I would be willing to get involved, interested in getting involved and co-presenting with Jeff and helping to get speakers and all. And of course, how can you say no? It's such a great program, and it's so fantastic in so many ways, not just the speakers themselves, which are fantastic and amazing, but again, that personal touch that you're talking about, the fact that this is so global has been amazing. There are regular people who regularly come in and attend from Africa, from India, from even Australia, New Zealand, Israel, the Middle East, of course, Europe and the US, Canada. It's just a truly global community, and people are donating to food banks then literally around the world. And you can just see what a difference it's made. And then the relationships, if you will, even though you may not be talking to these people, you get to know them, maybe by questions they ask or by their name or whatever, and, then become connected on LinkedIn and follow them. And you really feel, I at least feel like I have a truly global community beyond what I thought I had before of a global community. It's just fantastic.
Yeah. But how did you know Natalie?
I know Natalie because I've been working with her. She's been working with me. I don't remember how we were first introduced, but somebody told me, call Natalie, and I looked her up, and I can still remember the first conversation. I was sitting in my car on the cell phone, having a first conversation with her, and we met, and then the rest is history. Yeah.
We'll get to that, because we don't, I mean, Natalie will tell us what she does, marketing, mediators or whatever. So that way her connection with mediators. Yes. But before that, Sareh comes in, and then let's get her view on what she thinks of the team and the work that they're doing. Please, Sareh.
Well, I find this, it's very difficult for me to be sitting here, because I see these people as my mentors. I reached out to Natalie when I decided to, focus on ADR, start my career in ADR, which is apparently not what usually people do. People decide to, enter ADR halfway through their practice. People don't usually start there. So I was really helpless. I had no clue where to start. So I reached out to Natalie. I found her on LinkedIn, and I found her the most generous person with her time, with her knowledge. And I asked her for experience. How can I gain just a little bit of experience to, not to be so lost here? And so she offered me to work with them in this team. And it was 1,000 times yes.
Okay. So but how has it been working with them?
Okay.
I don't know. You can mute people, but how do you stop people from hearing things? There is no way to do that. Okay, please tell us. How is it? How is it working with them?
It's been amazing. I mean, every day has been a new teachings and learnings for me. So I'm very grateful. I mean, for Jean, Natalie, and Jeff, they are contributing to a great cause. But for me, I'm learning how to work and contributing to a great cause. So I'm double grateful.
But Natalie, since the time, of course, the pandemic and you getting affected by what's happening, what has your mindset been over these months? How have you coped with it and things like that?
For me, the big change has been North Americans really embracing online technology to expand their practices, because it's something that we've been doing in Europe and Africa for quite some time. But when Americans get on board, it really pushes things forward at just a Mach 5, a ballistic kind of a rate. So the rest of us can, sort of plod along and encourage. But when the US says, oh, this is the coolest thing ever, it suddenly becomes the coolest thing. And so what it has done for my clients is remove boundaries. There's no such thing as geography any longer. So it used to be that Jeff and I would talk about, how far are you willing to go, Jeff? And he'd say, well, I would be willing to drive across the greater LA basin or catch a Southwest flight somewhere. That was kind of it, right? For a really big case, East Coast or something like that. But we were limited by geography. And now, because of technology, we're not limited. And what that does to us as an industry full of solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, that allows us, that allows us so many options, so many opportunities, so many choices to make for our practices and our businesses. It has been the most exciting period of time for me in our industry in 2.5 decades. It has been fantastic to participate in, to watch, to encourage. It's just been remarkable. And I know that sounds like a strange thing to say during a horrible worldwide pandemic, but for our industry, it has really changed the game.
Yeah, let's just say something good has come out of it. Don't want to say that something good has come out of it. I mean, we have to accept that. But you've been now based in France. Have you been going to the US, or you've been there?
No, I'm not. Yes, I suppose you could say I'm based in France. That's one way to put it. From time to time, it feels as though I'm stuck in France. And the reason is because the borders are they closed around us. So we happened to be in France when COVID-19 presented itself, and France did a hard close of its borders. And so we didn't have an option. We couldn't leave. So here we remain, and we will be unable to leave until the end of November, and then things will open up for us, and we'll be able to get to the United States, hopefully for the Christian holidays and New Year's.
But how has that personally affected you? Emotionally and everything?
I think like everyone else, Vikram, it's difficult, because we see our granddaughter on video, but we can't hug her and kiss her, and we can't tell her goodnight stories, and we're not baking cookies with our family members, and those things are really important. On the other hand, because of this technology, I think not just me, but all of us have been introduced to some of the most amazing humans on the globe. And we get to talk to them in really authentic ways. We get to discover them and learn about them. And we get to talk about what their practices are and who their clients are. And we get to meet incredible people. And one of the great gifts of Will Work for Food is that I get to talk to these lovely humans at least every week. And that has really made a difference. At the beginning, when it was just Jeff and I, we would log on a bit early and we would stay on a bit late. And that tradition continues every Thursday. We all kind of get on a little bit early and we leave a little bit after everybody is out of the room. And we take care of each other. And I don't know a better way to say it than just that. We just take care of each other. And Jeff and I have been friends for a really long time. We've known each other through divorce and death and all kinds of just normal things that happen in everybody else's life. And this constant it has been a great bolster, a really great gift.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me tell you, technology, yes, is good. The only thing I don't know, are there real people behind this? Now, I'm just thinking that the people are just these pictures on screen. I don't know. Are there real people that are? When am I going to get used to that? These are just going to be pictures, I think, for some time, quite some time, maybe. So I think we just have to get used to that.
I think that you do get used to it. And I think you learn how to carve out that level of communication. It is an art form that you have to figure out for yourself, how to make that connectivity. And it is difficult in a large room when there are multiple people like this on the screen. But, I think that when you can build up one commonality, one thing, and keep the conversation rolling, it really has made a difference. I know that my mental health, my emotional well-being was incredibly positively impacted by just getting to see these lovely faces every week.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's been the good thing, at least that basic connection there. But I'm still saying that human-to-human connection on a physical level, in the sense meeting each other, definitely, whether that will still be required, or are we going to be able to move away from that also, and everything is going to become just meeting on the screen? I don't know.
I don't think you'll ever be able to replace it. And I have to tell you, I have already agreed to be in Los Angeles for the American Bar Association Section for Dispute Resolution annual conference the last weekend in April, and I'll be in LA, and I will openly admit in public, online, in a recorded environment, I cannot wait to put my arms around these humans that you see in these little boxes on the screen. Nothing will replace that. It just isn't going, it just doesn't happen. That's not how humans work. We require, it used to be a joke, we would call it vitamin T, vitamin touch. We require that interaction with other humans. And these people are my people. And I can't wait to get to the other side of the planet and give them hugs.
We can't wait to have you here.
But Jean, how have you coped up with this whole pandemic and being cut off? Are you people cut off now? Or everything's back to normal?
It's not back to normal. No. It's getting there, but it's definitely not back to normal. I mean, masks and et cetera, et cetera. So how did I cope? Well, actually, it has been very interesting, because when the pandemic hit, my husband and I had our daughter, her husband, 3 little children. The oldest was at that time maybe 6, 7, maybe it turned 7 maybe, and the baby was 2-ish, maybe not quite 2. And then a dog that we would always say doesn't like my husband. He'd bark at him every time he came home. So the pandemic hits, and so we would have and then school goes online. So my daughter was teaching kindergarten online by Zoom from her bedroom, she and her husband's bedroom. Then we had the 2 little ones, one in kindergarten and one in 1st grade, in the dining room on little tiny tables that were set up. my son-in-law was working from the garage. I was working from the den, and my husband would go to his office. And, it was a really special time. And of course, we were lucky. We made our bubble with those of us who were living together, but then we also have 2 other daughters that are local. And we, after about 2 months, just said, forget it, we're our own bubble. And so it was a special family time, actually. It was, certainly nerve-wracking. It felt great to me when I got my first vaccine. I know there are plenty of people who don't really want the vaccines, but eventually their house got finished being remodeled and they all moved out. And then it was just my husband and I in our house. And, so life goes on and you adjust. Very grateful we did not get the COVID. That daughter who lived with us recently, she and her family did. But it's still very hard with the schools. If here, and I'm sorry if I'm taking too much time, but
it's all time is not a factor here. Time is never a factor on this show. Please.
The schools. So now the schools are open this fall. They started back in August, and the public school in particular would be what I'm talking about. And they have to test for COVID every week. And then if somebody, one of the children tests positive, then they identify those who sit around them. And those students are told that they have to then go home and quarantine. And my oldest granddaughter, she's in 6th grade, so she's 11 years old. They've been in school for 7 weeks. And she has had to quarantine for 3 weeks. And it's just been devastating to an 11-year-old going to middle school for the first time and learning to live with lockers and everything, to have to do that and then go back to school online while you're in quarantine. And anyway, she got to go back yesterday again and has not gotten the virus, but doesn't know, you don't know who around you might have had it. So there's a lot going on.
The only thing, Jean, you've said so much, you've taken so much time. The only thing I picked up from that is you're a grandmother of an 11-year-old. That I'm just trying to figure out, trying to get hold of.
That's the oldest. The youngest is 3, and later this afternoon I take her to swimming lessons with masks on.
Wow.
By law. Yeah.
Lucky. At least you have your grandchildren with you, so that's a good thing.
Very.
So, but now, Jeff, you have to tell us the same thing. How did you cope with it?
Well, I also have 2 grandchildren. Mine are 7 and 4. I'm happy to say they live in Los Angeles and we get to see them pretty regularly. So the way you cope, Vikram, is just one day at a time. And very happy that Liz, my fiance, and I moved into this nice, spacious house in the Larchmont Village area of Los Angeles around Halloween of 2019. It's a beautiful 4-bedroom house, a 2-story house, and probably more space than any other house in which I've ever lived. And little did we know how important that would be. I had been living in a relatively small apartment before then, and I probably would have gone stir crazy if I was in that little apartment. Here we are now in this large house. I've set up 1 bedroom as my studio here, which you see. Liz, my fiance, has a bedroom that she's turned into her office. We have a nice backyard. And in Los Angeles, the weather is nice most all the year. So I've watched a lot of webinars and answered a lot of emails on my laptop sitting in the backyard over the year, and being able to go outside and have some fresh air has been an important part of the way to cope. And Liz, my fiance, is wonderful in every way, and having her company and being together with someone as special as she is has also been the key to getting through all this.
But what is the view from the house? What do you see from there? What do you see from there?
Well, from the front of the house, you see the houses across the street.
I thought maybe the sea or something. Maybe I thought maybe there
Oh
is.
no, Gene, I think you may be closer to the ocean than I am. I'm about, probably 10 miles inland, Vikram, between the Pacific Ocean and downtown. When we got this place, it was very convenient. My office in downtown LA, it's about 4 miles away. So being 4 miles from the office in a place where traffic is tough and having a rather modest commute, that's a big plus.
Yeah.
In the old days when I actually would go to my office. Now I'm just happy that we're in a lovely, scenic, safe neighborhood, and uh, it's lovely just being here.
But after Sareh tells us how she coped with it, Jeff, you have to tell us all those rejuvenating things that you keep doing, and all of them. You have to tell us about all those interesting things.
Oh my, we don't have time for all of them.
We have lots of time. You might not have. I love these shows have gone off for 3 hours on In Conversation with the Beautiful Mind. Evolution of a Mediator went for 4 hours without a break. So time is not a factor with me, but yes, you will give up at some stage. So thank you very much, Vikram. We've had a good conversation, but we have to go. So that is when it stops. Otherwise, it doesn't stop. So Sareh, how did things happen with you during the pandemic? How did you cope with things?
Oh, that's a tough question because I'm not sure how well I have coped with it. The biggest challenge for me was working from home, which I hate, I still do. I was used to studying in libraries when I was a student, and the pandemic has started when I was in my when I was doing my last term, so I had to finish up studying from home, which was something that I hadn't done in 15 years. I like to study in different spaces, so when I was a student, I would go to different libraries every day in different coffee shops. This is something that I still challenge with, but I mean, I survived with taking long walks. Even in the winter, when there was like 15 centimeters of snow, I would still take my walk. And more family time. That's how I survived.
No, but I'm just thinking that because look, Jeff and Jean were in Los Angeles, the weather was all right. But with you, the pandemic and winter, the snow and everything, how does that affect you? Because I always feel that weather can anyway get depressing for people. On top
Yeah,
of that, this how did that go on?
yeah, it didn't go very well. It was tough. I mean, as Jeff said, just taking it one day at a time, just trying different things. My parents turned to homemade baking. So we had a lot of, fresh Persian bread at home, which was something that we never had before the pandemic. That's something that I'm grateful for. But other than that, every day just trying something new, puzzles, audiobooks, again, walks, Netflix shows, counting the days until they're over.
So how much weight got put on with all the baking?
Oh, because of the walks, actually, I lost a few pounds, but
Wow,
yeah,
that's good.
yeah.
But Jeff is going to tell us all those interesting things he did.
I'm very eager to hear.
Yes, Jeff, please tell us all those. I don't know what all, some therapy, something. I used to look at those posts that you put out.
Yes, well, Vikram, I've lost weight during the lockdown. We tend to eat very healthy at home. When you're eating at home and not going out to restaurants, you have much more control over what you're eating. So we eat very healthy at home, and in the world of functional and integrative medicine, uh, big emphasis on nutrition, taking vitamins and supplements and things of that nature. I picked up acupuncture along the way, and I think that's been very beneficial to my health, and other sorts of just a lot of different things along the way. The gym is now open again, so being able to go to the gym and do yoga and work out and exercise again, and in a group way. I find it much easier to do the exercise when it's part of a group rather than just me by myself, there's always a reason not to. It's just, there's always one more email to answer. There's always one more something or other to read online, more updates on LinkedIn and things of that nature. But when it's got a social element to it, and you like the teacher and you like the other people who come and take the yoga classes at the gym, I find it much easier to do my exercising when I have that sort of appointment to it. We've also taken a lot of long walks. Liz and I have taken a lot of long walks around our neighborhood. It's a beautiful area with a lot of very pedestrian friendly streets. And there are certain times of the day when everybody's out walking their dogs, and you see families out on bicycles and walking together. And particularly in 2020, when there was more intense feeling of isolation, getting out right around sundown at the end of the business day and seeing a lot of families and other people on the street and being able to wave to them from across the street, but still just seeing other human beings and being able to have some kind of contact with them is and was a very good thing for mental health as well as for physical health.
Well, there was some interesting thing that you did. I don't remember what it was, but it was some interesting treatment. I think it was some capsule kind of thing with some light and some kind of.
Oh yes, the ozone sauna, the HOCAT machine, all these different sorts of things are very beneficial, and I find that I'm much more open to these kinds of things than I might have been many years ago, because I see that they work and I see that my health has increased. I'm just, as I say, I've lost a lot of weight. If you go back and look at the recordings of the Will Work for Food programs from a year and a half ago, you'll see that my face probably took up much more of the screen than it does now. And just being overall healthier, Vikram, it's a good thing.
I think that's what we have to do. Yeah, I think we have to go back and look at those videos, because I definitely see Natalie being affected by the thing that I don't know. I see her. Natalie, you had people there. I mean, you had who all were living with you in France?
No, I had just the opposite experience. This where I'm sitting now it's not quite 700 square feet. It was originally just for my husband and I. There's only one bed, so it's just for my husband and I to come and be here for a long weekend or a week or two. It was just a pied-à-terre and not really designed for us to live in long term. So my experience was the opposite. In this house, there's a front door and a back door and a bathroom door. And that's it. There are no other rooms. There's no privacy. There's no place for me to go and work, for my husband to go to work. We see each other, we hear each other. There's no way for us to separate from one another. So our experience was really stressful. And in France, our COVID regulations were that only one of us could leave the house at a time for one of 4 pre-approved reasons, with a signed affidavit in our pockets, and for only up to an hour. So we couldn't go for long walks. We tried it once. My husband put on his affidavit that he was going to the butcher shop, and I put on mine that I was walking the dog. And the gendarme said, excuse me, I think that, this is a really small village and we kind of know who everybody is. I think this is not pre-approved. And we, got ourselves back home really quickly. But our experience was much different. It was stressful, and it was difficult. And my husband, I don't know what kind of gift everybody else is getting for their significant other humans at the end of all of this, but he deserves a gold medal of some sort. He has, for the entirety of this thing, eaten every meal off of a tray on his lap on the sofa, because I have taken over the dining room table as my office. So this poor man, he needs to be sainted for having survived this with me running a business in the middle of his dining room.
So which means he's somewhere around there. If it's the same room, then he's there right now?
Well, no, our restrictions were lifted. It's been a couple of months now, and our numbers here are really very low. But France took a much different position than the United States. Here we had everyone, it was difficult to leave your front door. We had mask mandates, all businesses were closed with the exception of the truly essential businesses. We had curfews, you couldn't be outside. So we had a much different experience than the United States did. And a much different experience. So my husband at any rate now, he's on the other side of the village with his parents working on some home improvement projects so that I can have this conversation with you and not hear him, in the background chewing or something, because that's how close we are normally.
But Jean, did you get some exercise during has it become routine now? Because that I think is important, some kind of a exercise or something.
And well, thank you for the motivation, Vikram. I have, we would take walks around the neighborhood, but I must admit, I kind of hibernated. I went inside and hibernated for the most part. So I found some of the weight that these guys lost and am now going back to the pool and swimming laps again. And, I feel grateful for what we have ahead of us, and just see blue skies ahead, so to speak, in that sense. And like Jeff, he's been inspirational here and getting in shape and looking at his pictures and all. It's like, wow, okay, so that's my mandate now for the next few months, is to lose what I found, actually.
But Natalie, now this is going to be a regular feature. Now we'll work for food, and these webinars is now a permanent kind of thing.
We had that conversation not too long ago, didn't we, folks? It's maybe 2 months ago. I think Jean brought it up and she said, restrictions are lifting and it feels like we're doing better. Is there a deadline? Is there an end date for this? And I think we all went quiet for just a moment. And then we all said, you know what? As soon as not one more person is hungry, then we can be done. But until then, and for as long as food banks need assistance and our colleagues are enjoying the programs, I think we'll keep going.
Yeah, because when I saw that domain that you picked up, willworkforfood.news, I said, now this is going to be a standard feature. So that was a good thing. But other than that, what else are you doing? Because you're doing I'm sure you're doing interesting other things.
All of us are doing fantastic.
Each one of them is going to tell us.
Yeah. I think, everybody's got great projects. My next new project is starting Monday. Jeff will remember back in the Covered Wagon days, I had a newsletter that would go out. It was called Marketing Monday, and it would go out via fax. That's how long ago this thing was, to a fax list. And then as time went on, it just got dropped. It was really labor intensive to put it together. But I got approved not too long ago to be able to go live on LinkedIn. And so starting again Monday, day after tomorrow, I'll be able to go live on LinkedIn and essentially do what Marketing Monday did all of those years ago. And that is just talk to people about what's happening, what choices we have, what we can do, some ideas. And so I put together 250 things that each of us could do to market, promote, build, and refine our practices if we only had an hour's time per day. And so over the course of however long it takes to have these conversations, I'll be live on LinkedIn every Monday morning, 8 a.m., 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, and just talk to people about what we can do to make our practices stronger and to make our industry stronger.
Can we get a preview with Jeff and Jean? Can you please tell us what is going to be the discussion there? Those 250, maybe we can get 5 of them. Maybe we can get that.
So it's little things, and it's things that we all know we should maybe do. So it would be, for example, Jeff, when was the last time you looked at your website with a really critical eye and thought about which of those pages resonates most with the viewer? Which of those maybe you could fine tune or even lose? Or how can you expand your YouTube channel? Or Jean, She just launched her YouTube channel, and utilizing video as a way to promote our industry is an incredibly powerful tool. Well, you can start a YouTube channel in under an hour. You can find the equipment that you need to buy on Amazon in under an hour. All of these little steps, all of these little bite-sized pieces that each one of us can take to make our practices stronger. You don't have to devote hours and hours and hours and hours. And I think that's some people find that to be a barrier to entry. If you have to say, oh, we need 5,000 hours to make this work. But if you just have 15 minutes, you can add your new clients to your database. If you've just got 30 minutes, you can open your phone and record a little video. If you just have a few minutes, there are hundreds of things that all of us do. You can reach out to a colleague. You can record an article. You can, do lots of different things. So that's what we'll be talking about in Marketing Mondays.
But Natalie, that was a question to Jeff. Jeff, when was the last time you looked at your website critically?
It was a few weeks ago, actually.
Tell us about it. What are the changes going to be? Are there going to be some changes there?
Yeah, just a little fine tuning in the language, Vikram. Nothing too major. I think there's on there a representative client list, and the list of law firms always has to be updated. So thankfully, I'm quite often working with new law firms. You do a good job for someone on a case, and they come back with a new dance partner, shall we say. And so the circle of law firms with which I've worked has increased and continues to increase. And then, of course, law firms merge and change names and whatnot. And so there's always updating to do there so that it looks contemporary. And just making sure that you're generally up to date on everything. There's always something to fine tune.
And then you have Natalie on call to give you all the advice that you need. So
Natalie has been a great resource for brainstorming and ideas. Natalie's very generous with her ideas and her time. She's always got tremendous insights. She's always got something new to say, and she's always got something that I need to be reminded about from days gone by. Natalie is a wonderful friend and a wonderful resource.
That's exactly. Sareh put out a post saying that she's going to be working with Natalie, and that's the comment I wrote, that she'll be a wonderful person to work for. So I'm sure that is true. Sareh, that's true?
It is. It's. I think I explained how true that is before.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. But Jean, what is the YouTube channel experience?
My general experience?
No, YouTube. Your YouTube channel experience.
Oh, YouTube. Okay, sorry. Well, so I've started Roads to Resolution, and Natalie is my one-woman marketing department. She's fantastic. When I was in law, I was in law firms for 37 years, so I was used to having people that could help do things, and meeting and finding Natalie has just been incredible. So she's got me. We together. She set up this. Roads to Resolution, and I am planning on interviewing like different series. I look at what you're doing, I look at what others are doing. Jeff's got his, what other people are doing, and the concept, just knowing that everybody's story is so fascinating and so interesting. So I have a few themes in mind, and that's what I'm going to be doing between now and the end of the year, and one of them actually is FIRSTS, F-I-R-S-T-S. There are a group of women in particular who were the first. It kind of goes like that book Outliers. If you're born during certain time periods, you tended to become the hockey player in Canada, or the Bill Gates and those guys with the tech, if they're born during a certain time period, things like that. Anyway, I think that my generation of lawyers has tended to have, in a general age range, a lot of firsts for leaders in professional organizations. The first president first woman to be president of this group or that group or whatever, and do different things. It's certainly not the first of everything, but because women have been doing that a long time, and certainly not to exclude men. But there are just a couple of that little first series that I want to do, and then just in general, I find people fascinating, and so we'll find different storylines to do.
But have you identified someone for your first of the firsts?
Cheryl, she doesn't know yet. I haven't called her, but Cheryl Willard out of Seattle, Washington. She was the first woman to be president of DRI here in the United States. And she was a couple of years ahead of me. And so she's on my list. And now I will have to call her this week, especially since this has gone live. Who knows if she'll hear it. Hello, Cheryl, if you happen to hear this. So,
but you said you've seen what I'm doing. What am I doing? People don't know what I'm doing because I put out so much content out there. No one knows. Have you had a look at what any of those videos that I put out on my YouTube channel?
Well, I've looked a little bit at some of them. It was the Beautiful Minds one I hadn't really followed. It was when you had Ken Cloak on. The Making of a Mediator?
Evolution of a Mediator. Yeah.
Yes, that one. So those are fascinating. Well done. Congratulations. But the Making of a Mediator comes in so many ways. I was reminiscing to myself, actually. I cleaned out a lot of closets and drawers during the COVID lockdown. And one of the things I came across, Jeff, was a number of years ago in the early 2000s when I was still in practice. You mediated a case for me. I'm sure there was more than that one, but we were on a plane together going to Walnut Creek for a mediation. And I remembered that, but I couldn't remember which mediator it was until I came across some paperwork about that mediation. It did not settle that day. It eventually had to go by summary judgment. But anyway, it's such a small world, and you did a great job with that mediation too. You did move it along, even though it didn't settle that day.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jean, the idea behind that evolution of a mediator was people, I don't know, you might not like it, I will still say it, that people think that mediators are made in 40-hour factories. So I said, no, mediators are not made in 40-hour factories. They go through a lot in life, and that is where they might identify with it at a certain point of time. Like with Ken, he says that he went for a particular training, and in 2 minutes flat, he knew his life had changed. So those are things that you might at that point see, okay, this is what I want to do, but it's not that did not make you what you are. Everything made you what you are. So I've gone through each and every aspect of his life and the other people I've had on that show, each minor thing. And of course, Ken spoke a lot about his life, so that scared a lot of people, that, oh, are we supposed to talk so much about ourselves? But a lot of people did, so that was good. So that was the idea behind that. So it was just that, let's tell people that it's not like you will become a mediator. I mean, I'm just keep saying that you don't make mediators like that. And the other one, in conversation with the Beautiful Mind, is just that let's put out these wonderful people out there. They're special people. I mean, mediators are special people. They should be out there. Because someone told me that, look, I know what mediation is. I can't put a face to a mediator because I've never met a mediator. So now that I've met you, I know who a mediator is. So I'm talking about jurisdictions where mediation is not at the level that it might be in the US. So for those things, I said, let's put them out, and that's from each part of the world. People should know them, talk to them. But then after that, what has happened is that now there is a lecture series which I've started. Of course, again with Ken, starting that on 6th, we had the first lecture. The new thing that I'm starting is something called talking books. So because I don't read books. And I've told Ken that I don't read books. So he's starting that first episode on the I think on the 20th. So that's on the 21st. So it's one book of his. He'll talk to someone who hasn't read it. Let's see how it goes. I also don't know how it's going to go. But the idea is, at least let's look at the book from a different perspective, from a person who will never read it. So let's do that. So that was what it is. And of course, the symposium.
That's fantastic. You're doing so much yourself. I mean, your Beautiful Mind and what you're doing for, peace. Mediators are peacemakers, even in a commercial sense and all. And that's fantastic. I mean, Jeff is a mentor to me. He let me shadow him. You know, we had a wonderful day in an IP case before the COVID, and we all just give of ourselves to others. And what you're doing for the peacemaking world is fantastic. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Jean. That's always nice to hear good words. It's always nice to be appreciated. But one thing I can't decide is I wanted to call Jeff on evolution of a mediator, but I still feel he's too young for that. I don't know. I will he talk about his life, every aspect of his life or not? Jeff, will you do that? Because I actually wanted to call you for that, but I don't know. Would you be talking about everything? You have to bare your soul kind of thing. That's the kind of show it is.
Let's talk.
I knew he will have something there. But one interesting show that I started, I've been saying that, look, spirituality plays a very important role in mediation and with mediators. So I started something called Mediators, Mediation, and Spirituality. We did a few episodes of that. I felt that was an important aspect of the entire process. So I had people from all over the world in the first one telling us what they think of spirituality. So, Jean, what do you think? What is spirituality for you?
Wow, put me on the spot here. What is spirituality for me? For me personally, not what I think it is in general. Okay, you know, for me, it's a belief in God, our higher being. I have my own religious beliefs and I practice my religion. But in the bigger picture, it's not a particular church. It's not a particular religion. It's I suppose to me, it's being in unison with the world and nature, and whatever your beliefs are, you know, that help get you through the day, then that's fantastic. Being a good person, knowing that there's a reason why you're here on earth, hopefully to do positive, good things for your fellow man, and you know, love and be loved. And I don't know, it's yeah, just being, I mean, it's one thing to say being a good person. I don't mean to say that in a trite way, but in the combination of the the spiritual, the presence of that, plus then the temporal, the here and now too. I don't know, I'm rambling, but
well, that's important. This is interesting. Yeah.
Well, I'll go ahead and testify and say, Jean, you are a good human.
Exactly.
So whatever efforts you think you are lacking in to fulfill your space in humanity, I'll just go ahead and say, Jeff, Sareh, Vikram, Jean, you are good humans. You do good work, and people are better off for having known you than not.
And that's exactly like
too.
And the whole idea, that's why you people, I call you people, because I believe all four of you are that. So that's you, and Natalie, you put all of them together is because you are like that. So, and it's important. But what is spirituality for you, Natalie? Each one of them, they've got a little more time than Jean got, and you've got a little extra time. So what is spirituality for you?
That's not usually a question that I answer in public. That's something that is it's something that I hold near and dear to myself, and it's just between me and my existence. And if you don't mind, I'll pass. I'll agree with Jean that, you know, the goal is to be a good enough human that the world is better off for you having existed in it. And when you are gone from it, maybe that value will have a decent half-life. Maybe we'll have made a positive enough mark on our planet that future generations will have a better place than we occupied.
So doing good deeds, and that's what it is. Okay, Jeff, are you wanting to talk about it, or?
You know, Vikram, it's Saturday morning. It's the Jewish Sabbath. I'll have to be leaving soon to go to temple. I generally go every Saturday morning. It's a dress-up experience. So you see the shirt and tie, and I'm actually wearing suit pants today as opposed to the blue jeans or sweatpants that I usually have on when I put a shirt and tie on for the Will Work for Food seminars and mediations. I know there's a lot of people who are much dressier on top than down below. A lot of people in blue jeans and sweatpants and more formal tops. So the Jewish religion plays a large role in my life. I'm an active member of the synagogue, and I derive a lot of meaning from that.
But the only thing is that, Jeff, I thought you were dressed up for the show. Now you just told me that this was not.
I'm dressed up for I got dressed up early for you, Vikram. Yes.
Okay, so for a moment I really thought, yes, Jeff is all dressed up for the show.
You
All
watch
gone. 1 second, you put that outside.
If you watch a Will Work for Food, I'm generally dressed in a shirt and tie, and as Jean was mentioning, being part of the baby boomer generation, we're perhaps a little more formal than some of the people younger than ourselves. And for me, I feel most comfortable in these kinds of business and professional settings. For me, a shirt and a tie is, for me, it's the way to go.
Sareh, do you want to talk about spirituality for yourself?
Talk about, I'm sorry.
Spirituality. What is spirituality for you?
I thank you for asking that, because you made me think about it, and I'm gonna need some time to think.
Okay, you can take your time, because Jeff has to tell us a story which is obviously spoken about on Will Work for Food for those shows. Tell us about the elephant at the back. A lot of people might not have heard about the elephant story.
Well, they're from Mumbai, Vikram. I've been to India twice. At the end of 2018 and the end of 2019, I was invited to judge the Advocate Maximus Law Student Mediation Advocacy Competition. And that's Nishant Leroy and Jonathan Rodriguez and Gracious Timothy Dunna and the whole team they have over at the Pact. And I had not really done a lot of world traveling. I never thought about going to India, to be honest with you, before I got invited to judge the Advocate Maximus competition. And at the end of 2018, first time I went to New Delhi to judge the competition, went to Agra, of course, which is not too far away, saw the Taj Mahal, which was an incredible experience, went to Rajasthan and saw many of the beautiful sites up there, northern India. And all the law students were talking about Goa, that after the competition, they were all going to go to Goa for their winter breaks. And all these younger people said, Jeff, you really got to check out Goa. Goa is the most fantastic place. It's party city. It's just great. And I said, oh, party city, me, I don't know. And in any case, some of the people said, you know, there are things for people your age to do in Goa as well. So on my next trip, end of 2019, right before the pandemic, I went back to New Delhi, judged the competition, and then I went to Goa, had an incredible week there. I stayed at a yoga and meditation retreat and did some sightseeing and some yoga and meditation on the shores of the Arabian Sea down there in Goa, and just had an incredible time. Of course, I left the bars and nightclubs to the younger people. I need to go to bed earlier than that. And then I went to Mumbai, and Mumbai and New Delhi are just extraordinary cities. You know, stayed down in the Kolaba area of Mumbai, and there's a lot of, I learned that the trunk up elephant is a sign of good luck and good fortune in Indian culture. So I started collecting them, and I have about a dozen of them now, and they're all over the place. There's a few still in my office, and a few, many of them here around my home office, different shapes and sizes and made out of different materials. And it's incredible. The little yellow one that you see behind me is made out of wood and a little scuffed, and it's a little weather beaten. And yet that happy little elephant persists. He's got his trunk up. He's optimistic. He's happy. He's looking forward to a new day. And I draw a lot of inspiration from thinking about my times in India, the wonderful people I met there. And these little elephants serve as souvenirs for that. And when I was in India, Vikram, I must tell you, though, there were two words that I learned to fear. Two words that I learned meant true danger for me. And those two words were always accompanied by this gesture. And it was someone in a restaurant saying to me, "Little spicy." And when I heard "little spicy," I knew
This is going to
I
be
knew
the
what I
end.
was in. I knew what I was in for.
No, but tell me,
You
Jeff.
have wonderful cuisine in India, and I had to remind people in many restaurants, I'm middle-aged American guy. My palate is not accustomed to the level of spiciness. And most every place, they were very happy to accommodate me, and I had some delicious, delicious food in India.
But tell me, Jeff, I land in Delhi airport, and now you're out. Your taxi goes out. What was your first experience? What was your first thought when you got out of the airport? Because I know it's a little different. Our city is a little different from what you're used to. What was that?
Traffic in India, driving, it amazed me, the chaos and the order simultaneously of traffic, both in New Delhi and in Mumbai. The constant honking of horns, people jamming in, cutting each other off, and still getting where they need to go without running into each other. So I learned very quickly, Vikram, never even to consider driving myself in any city in India. I've not been to the other big cities.
We're consistent, Jeff. We're consistent. We're consistent everywhere.
I've not been to Bengaluru or Kolkata or some of the other big cities. But if you tell me, Vikram, that it's the same there, then I'll continue. I had a wonderful driver in New Delhi, a wonderful man named Prakash. I still keep in touch with him on WhatsApp. And the people of India were just so gracious and hospitable and friendly and caring. It was a tremendous, tremendous experience to be there. And as I said, I never had dreams or ambitions of going to India. In the United States, when most people think of exotic vacations, they think of going to Europe, Western Europe particularly, as vacation destinations, going to Italy and France, where Natalie is, in the United Kingdom. And then here I was in India, and I thought, oh man, I just love it here. I thought it was a fantastic place to go visit, and I look forward to returning.
But Jeff, let me tell you that the traffic tells you exactly what we are. We're a free country. This is free thought, free action. You can drive on any side of the road you want. You can park your car anywhere you want. You can, of course, honk as much as you like. So, I mean, this is true freedom. Where else in the world do you find this? You can be yourself.
I've never seen traffic anything like it anywhere else in the world.
This is freedom, Jeff. You won't see it anywhere else. This is true freedom. You cannot get more free than this. So this is what it tells you about our country. Free thought, beautiful. Free action, do what you like, wherever you like. I won't tell you what all people can do, where they want to do it, but they do it. So
well, unless a cow comes into the road, and then you just wait.
Yes. And the best part is, look, let me tell you, if a guy decides he wants to go on the opposite side of the road, everyone will give him way. Him, her, whatever. Okay, everyone does. So they will give them way. So it's like very nicely that the sea parts in certain situations, in certain religions, the sea parts. Here the traffic just parts and everyone just goes on. No one says anything to anyone. It's true freedom. You don't get it anywhere. So please, I always tell people, please try this out. If you can actually live with it, then you can live with true freedom. Otherwise, you can't.
That's a wonderful perspective on it, Vikram.
You have to be positive. When you go out on the road, you have to be positive.
Oh, yes.
But Sareh, have you been able to figure out?
to figure out
Have you been able to figure out your spirituality and your thoughts on spirituality?
Can I extend my deadline?
No, you can.
As they say at the press conferences, she'll circle back to you on that, Vikram.
No, we'll come back to that, yeah. But Natalie, please tell us, what does the future hold for mediators and how they go about their practice, and how do you get more viewers on the YouTube channel? Because Sukhsimranjit Singh, on his closing address in the symposium, was saying, commented on this aspect, that the number of views that after he said so, I looked at the views on various YouTube channels of various organizations, institutions which have been there for 25 years, and I find not too many views happen. So what is the reason? Why? How do we go about changing that?
First thing that we can do is support one another, just as we do in every other aspects of our industry. And because our colleagues are somewhat new, and it's a bit of a nascent practice management tool for us, or practice growth tool for us, I think the easiest thing to do is when you connect with someone to say, I've got a YouTube channel, or I've got a blog, or I've got the thing. Do you have one that I can support? And so when Jeff uploaded a new video and I'm a subscriber, I try to always, click on the link and get him the viewer hours that he needs. And I try to give him the thumbs up. And we share each other's, posts. So Jeff puts something up and I share it. You put something up, Vikram, and I share it. And it's on YouTube, and it's on Facebook, and it's on LinkedIn. And like in so many other ways that we all support one another, if you're aware that a colleague has a channel or a blog or a business page, subscribe to it, hit the notification button, share it, watch it, and help put the word out. I think that it feels counterintuitive maybe for us, but the old cliche of a rising tide lifting all ships is absolutely true. And the better that we do individually, the better our industry does. And the better our industry does, the better we all do as individual practitioners. And so all of those little things that we can do to help each other and support each other, they really do add up. It makes a big difference.
What I feel is that I think that very basic training and how to use social media, I think people might not have. That's the way I just put it on that, because I had 95 speakers on my symposium. I didn't see people sharing things. I mean, other speakers, videos or whatever. I mean, look, 95, if they reach out, I don't know. Is that the reason? Don't they have enough training on the basics, or is it that people are not willing to share? Is the community so small that they don't want to share each other's things? I mean, I really have to figure that one out.
I think part of it is the generation, honestly, and I don't want to paint anybody in the call with that brush, but we weren't born with iPhones in our hands the way our grandchildren were. When I went to university, I went with an electric typewriter, and I was really cool for, having an electric typewriter in my dorm room. So that technology is just not our native language. For the younger members of our industry, it is easier for them. For them, they don't even give it a second thought. For those of us a certain age, we have to make an effort to think about the technology and to get comfortable with it and to use it. And some of us are naturally geeky. So Jean Lawler is one of the most beautiful nerds in our industry. She likes finding those new pieces of technology. She plays with them. She pushes all the buttons. She figures out whether or not it's good for her or not good for her, how she could use it, or maybe it's not right for her, but she could recommend it to somebody else. But not all of us are that way. And then I think the other thing is taking advantage of accepting a yes. So when someone says on a post, Jeff, Jean, what a fantastic program, loved it. And Jeff or Jean will say, thank you so much, really appreciate your comment. Please feel free to share the information. People do. So when you ask someone, or when someone connects with us and they say, love the Will Work for Food programs, what can I do to help? Our response is almost always, put it on your website, share it across your social media, encourage people to subscribe to the YouTube channels. And when we make that request, they really do come through for us. And it really does create So we have, I think Sareh could give you a better number, but I think we're almost at 26,000 subscribers on the website now. And that's huge. That's enormous. So when our little newsletter goes out about upcoming programs, it now goes out to almost 26,000 people. And that's because we say, glad you like the program, please feel free to share it. I think that's key.
But Natalie, are people actually not watching things on YouTube? Because this doesn't translate onto views on YouTube. That's what I'm saying. Is YouTube not a channel that people, is that not a medium that people want to watch? Is it podcasts that people are looking at? What is it? Because I just look at the number of views. Anyway, it could be your channel or mine or anyone else. Not enough to tell us that yes, so many people actually watch it. I don't know what the situation is.
It's not just about having the YouTube channel and getting people to watch your videos. It's also how you leverage the video that you create. So I have a client who is a family and divorce mediator. Her specialty is unrepresented clients. And so that's the general population, and they don't really know who we are or what we do or how we do it. Unlike an attorney who would be able to help them define that. These are just regular people and they don't know how to best use us. And so what we did, Vikram, was convert her, I think she had 92 FAQs on her website, which is a lot. And we took that page down and she recorded very short, like 1 minute long videos. And we made them quite beautiful, graphically very attractive. And we replaced her FAQs with little video explanations. So I would ask what previously had been posted as an FAQ. I would ask the question about once we settle and we agree to a parenting agreement, in the future, can we change the co-parenting agreement? And then she would repeat that question as though she were talking to herself, and then she would answer that question. And we put those up on her website, Vikram, instead of the FAQs that were typed out. And her client conversion rate went sky high. And it was because in video format, people can see you, they can hear you, they understand that you're credible, that you're an authority on this particular topic matter. You can put 2 sentences back to back in a cogent fashion, that they have a sense, even though it's in a unilateral space, that they've had an opportunity to get to know you a little bit. And the most important thing that it develops for all of us in this industry is a sense of trust. Because at the end of the day, that's the only reason people hire us, is that they think that they can trust us. And in video, even though it's not a face-to-face meeting, they start to get that sense that they probably could trust us with their case or with their concerns or their worries or their issues. And video helps us convey that. So it isn't always about how many views you get on a YouTube channel or how many subscribers you have, or is your channel big enough to be monetized? That's not always the ultimate goal. So for a lot of us, the ultimate goal is explaining who we are, what we do, how we do it, how we can help people, and continue that education and that dialogue.
The interesting thing that Sukhsimranjit also said was, let's make mediation cool. How do we make mediation cool? Now, Sareh will answer that. Sareh, how do we make mediation cool?
I think it is cool. We just have to let people see what it is. Conflicts are cool to learn about, and so resolving them is cool too. I think everyone has a general interest and curiosity when conflicts are involved to learn what is it about, how can they fix it, and so mediation is that, and it's very cool.
Okay, because cool in the sense we want the younger lot also to in some way understand and embrace it and talk about it. So that is what we need to do. And Jean is the one who's going to tell us, because she has these grandchildren whom
And I'm going to tell you how to be cool. I don't know if
Yes.
those grandchildren would think that I'm so cool. Oh, goodness. You just have to listen to people and figure out what they need or want, I suppose. And cool is like beauty in the eye of the beholder. We started this conversation with that, I think. Jeff did those great videos. He's got them posted every now and then. They come out, where, someone just ask him a question. That's pretty cool.
Yep. Because we have to make mediation cool. That is what I've understood. We have to rebrand it in a manner where people relate it to it in a different manner. So that
if
is
I
what.
may interrupt here, I have been with Jane into her mediations, and she is cool, even in like an 8-hour mediation. So
Thank you, Sareh.
Because I'm thinking of ways to rebrand the concept, and let's see. There are thoughts there, but I think we need to make it cool. Let's see how cool happens. So, Jeff, any thoughts on that? Yeah, Jean.
I was just going to say, they're teaching peer mediation in schools now, and through different organizations, how to resolve your disputes, just as little kids. So maybe there's some way to take that and just make it cool by having it become part of everyday life as this younger generation grows older and, they get into high school level of university, and then, into life, business, their adult life.
That's the target. That's the target, to get there. But the only the peer mediation programs that I look at, the actual dispute resolving is becomes just one part of it. It becomes training on conflict management, non-violent communication, and all that. I want these children to actually experience dispute resolution, actually resolving it, that part of it, because I think it's getting a little mixed up with everything. The whole larger picture is what is shown to them, but they have to sit down and they actually have to resolve the dispute. That is what I want to do on that.
There's a movie, a video I had when my children were in elementary school and primary grades. I went into their classrooms and showed this about Goldilocks and the Three Bears, and about, Goldilocks breaking their chair, eating their food, and, all these things. And then the idea of justice and, compensation and resolving their disputes, that kind of thing. I never really thought of it as being focused on mediation. I was in practice then and was thinking more on the litigation, or compensation side of it. But that is out there. And there's some group here in the United States. I can't even remember where I found it, but, you could use those kinds of situations. For the younger kids, certainly as they get older, you can use things on TV shows or movies and find things where there were disputes and either they resolved them or they didn't, or how you might resolve them differently. I mean, the kids today, at least here in the States, okay, you ask about my grandchildren, Minecraft and Roblox seem to be what they're so fascinated with. And again, they're young. They're not, high school age or anything like that. And so if you could take something like that, video games that they're very interested in, or like I said, the TV shows or movies or something like that, characters, and create something where, heck, just the battle and the dispute, you're taking my whatever and how to solve that, put together some programs that way, that could be cool.
Exactly. So you're the right person I asked. Exactly. I mean, these are very interesting thoughts. And I think on your YouTube channel, I think you should be talking about these stories. I think that should be one series by itself. All the pick up one movie and what they did there. I think this is exactly what I was looking for. But that's how we are going to get them involved and make them understand. And because finally, I'll tell you, from the symposium, the interesting thing that came up was that colonization has affected the psyche of people in terms of dispute resolution. Courts became the place for dispute resolution. So to change that psyche, to be able to do it, and even, I'm saying even the schools in the peer mediation program, I think the students have to be left on their own to do it. No authority figure around. They have to just stay away from that. How that works out, we'll have to see. So, Jeff, any thoughts on that?
I just can't wait to see the Gene Lawler video game action
cool.
superhero.
Here we go. Even the Disney movies, those Disney characters have disputes, the wicked stepmother and the whatever,
I'm telling you, Gene, this is actually a very, very good, I think a damn good way to put it forward. So
I'll give it some thought.
Yeah, and Natalie will come up with a good name for it, whatever it might be.
Actually, I was thinking, wouldn't it be fun if you could open up all those old Greek myths, all those old stories, and you could have Jeff Kichaven take one side and Gene Lawler take the other side, and have somebody mediate, between Antigone and or Diogenes, or Zeus and his any number of his wives before he eats them. And it would be fun to go back and try to mediate some of these epics.
Yeah,
Gene, we could go back to toga parties.
There you go. There's that show Drunk History, where they go back through history. I'm not suggesting the drunk part of it, but you're right. You can take history, not just literature and movies or whatever, but things in history, Henry VIII and all those wives. What were they arguing about? How could they resolve their disputes other than beheading, or whatever? Yeah.
Yeah, I think you could make it cool.
One thing that I sometimes do with lawyers, Vikram, in terms of teaching people to use mediation, kind of, I don't know if cool is the right word, but normal, it might be the right word. Sometimes I'll go back and take some of the classic cases that people read about in the first year of law school, cases like Paulsgraf versus Long Island Railroad, or a famous British case called Lumley versus Wagner about an opera singer and two impresarios competing for her services. And they're the subjects of famous reported legal decisions that every American law student reads in the first year of law school, and will mediate those cases to see what would happen if, instead of putting those cases in the judicial system, we mediated them. And would it be possible to mediate a case like Paulsgraf versus Long Island Railroad or Lumley versus Wagner? And there have been times when I've done them in costumes and funny hats for people, and people have gotten a kick out of that sort of thing. And that approach has helped to open people's eyes to, well, in a sense, it's rewinding the tape, to use that metaphor, back to the beginning of how people in people when they were law students learned to process disputes. And if we can rewind the tape back all the way to that and teach different approaches to resolving those same disputes, I think maybe we can open the eyes of some lawyers. I think we have opened the eyes of some lawyers using techniques like that.
What's the point?
Vikram, I've got to log off in about 5 minutes. I don't know how much time other people have. Is there anything else we must make sure to cover within 5 minutes or so?
Look, you've asked this question, but that is one question you never ask out here. We don't actually sometimes end up covering anything, but everything, whatever it might be. So it totally depends on you people. Whenever, I mean, I'm telling you how many hours I've gone through without a break. So I have the whole, I can just go on. So it's totally up to you. You don't have to be polite. That's the only thing, because it will show on your face. With Natalie's face, it might show a little more, because she does. Natalie, are you in a situation to talk? Or what is the situation?
I can continue for a bit, but for me, it's almost a dinner hour, and so I do need to be finished fairly soon.
Yeah, because of what I've been doing is, for me, that dinner is one thing that's got affected, definitely.
I'm responsible for another human and a couple of four-legged roommates, so it's not just me. Otherwise, I would make the sacrifice.
But where are those four-legged roommates? Can we meet any of them?
Let's see. There are various baskets around at my feet filled with felines, and they don't like being interrupted. And our redheaded roommate, my husband's best friend, the dog, is with him.
Okay.
Sorry, our dog, in the middle of the pandemic, she was a great source of support, and she was actually awarded Employee of the Month last year.
The dog was? Your dog
the dog was, yes.
Well, that's nice of you to grant that award.
Employee of the month, in the sense that they slept all the way through the whole entire office day. That was the good part about the employee.
If you can keep your human from losing her mind, you should get Employee of the Month. Absolutely, yeah.
No, but Natalie, are we getting to people who are not lawyers and are you getting them into the fold? Are the mediators that you deal with who are not lawyers?
Oh, I think probably I'd say half of our industry are not attorneys, and they come from all walks of life. They're marriage and family therapists, they're teachers, they're counselors, they're nurses. They're all different kinds of really remarkable human beings. And they bring to our industry an entirely different set of skills that is appreciated and necessary by a whole group of consumers and clients.
But are they able to practice only as mediators? Because like Jeff does, or I do, how many, Jean, are you practicing only as a mediator, or are you doing other things?
I'm now just practicing mediation and arbitration.
Arbitration, yeah, that's.
But I was practicing as a lawyer, litigation for 37 years.
Because I'm just thinking that when would you be only a mediator? I mean, is that going to be something that you're going to do, or is going to be arbitration and mediation?
Well, mediation is probably my first love on this, but it's both.
Was Natalie, how many people actually end up practicing only as mediators in the US?
Only as mediators, in that they are no longer a real estate broker, or they're just doing mediation as opposed to mediation, arbitration, conciliation. Yeah,
only as mediators.
I would say the vast majority are only mediators. There's not a lot of people who really perfectly balance, doing multiple processes really, really well. Most of us have a preference, or most of us have clients who put that preference into our practice.
No, because I'm just thinking for the profession to develop, there have to be people practicing only that profession, I would think. So are we moving to, because look, we look at the US saying the 40, 45 years, the whole concept of mediation and the US model going to other places, but how many people end up practicing only as mediators is something that I've always been interested to find out.
It's an easy question to pose. We can just run a survey and find out, but I think that, that in my little database of neutrals and ADR professionals or resolutionists or peacemakers, however you want to define it, there's almost 300,000 of us worldwide. Most of us really do focus a lot of our energies, if not all of our energies, on the resolution industry. And so, and our industry has changed over time, Vikram. So, for example, if I've got one client who was a registered nurse and now mediates entirely just those disputes, issues, or heated or hard conversations in elder care centers, either between the patients and their families, or the families and the center, or the employees at the center and the managers of the center. So, but that's her entire specialty, and that's what she does all day, every day throughout the United States. And she has done it to such a great degree that she wrote the book on it. So there are so many different ways that our industry is used. There are lots of different ways that our skill sets are put to really good work. And the numbers just get bigger and bigger and broader every day.
About this, Constantia from Brazil in her session was saying that in her lifetime, she wants to see that she can practice only as a mediator. So in other parts of the world, maybe these are things that people are not being able to do. And that's a little bit of a concern. But I feel that's the way a profession can develop, and everywhere people actually start practicing only that profession. So I'm just thinking that how does that happen? When does that happen?
When I first started in this industry in the 1990s, and Jeff and I would go to a bar association function, it was a joke that ADR actually stood for alarming drop in revenue to most attorneys. And we listened to that joke get told over and over and over until eventually there was a cultural shift to a level of appreciation for the work that Jeff was doing in mediation rooms. And it did take time. And those cultural shifts have to occur, for the right people at the right time, the same as, good communication in our mediation rooms. So in Brazil, things are slow to change. One of the challenges that they've faced is a continuum that seems never ending of new government. And every time you get a new government, you get new judges, new policies, and new procedures, that pushes our industry back a couple of steps. And then we have to move forward methodically. And then another government comes along and it pushes us back. And we have to, pick up kind of where we left off and move things forward. In some cultures, we have a deep-seated sort of a horrible social abuse program with authority. And so when people want to have a program wherein they can design their own destiny and they can create their own durable and reasonable resolutions, authority says, no, 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 you can't possibly know what's good for you. Leave that to us. We'll take care of you. We'll do that in a very inappropriate patriarchal kind of a way. So every culture has to make their adjustments over time. In Canada, on the other end of the spectrum, ADR is no longer the alternative. It is the norm. And so, each of us has to work through and intentionally create an environment wherein mediation and arbitration are the norm and the expectation from our consumers.
I was telling Colin Rule in his session, please don't use the A word on my show. I don't like to use the A word. Although, Jean, you are part of the A world, so I don't want to say anything. But I just feel that both of them, because they use together, most parts of the world, actually people are confused. They're still confused that that arbitration and mediation are somewhat the same. And so I am making sure that I don't even use that word, have nowhere close to that word coming on whatever I do. Because I'm saying that maybe the US is different because I don't even know. I mean, what is really happening in the mediation world? Yes, people would know, but what about people in general? Are they aware of what mediation is? Do you think, Jean? Are people aware what in general public, as you would say? Are they aware?
The general public, probably not, unless you've been involved in litigation and have then gone to mediation, or in a workplace, where you would have mediation or something like that. Otherwise, I would tend to think, no, probably the general public isn't, wouldn't automatically say, oh yeah, I know what mediators are. I mean, if you ask them, they think about it and figure it out, but probably not had experience with mediation.
Because this is something that I've been discussing on the symposium. Every time I've been saying this, and I'm using the US example because I did a Google search. It shows me that 100 million cases are filed in courts in the US, and I just can't figure out that in 45 years of mediation being out there, still things go into the courts and so many matters go into the courts. Don't people have such good user experiences that they would tell other people and it would just spread and people would still use it as the first option? What is the reason for that? Why hasn't that happened?
Well, I've had several pre-suit mediations lately, one on Friday and one on Monday, actually. I'm sure Jeff has the same. And in some contracts, before they can go to the A word, they have to use the M word and mediate, or they can't get attorney fees, a different A word. But, so maybe they meet that. I've mediated some cases like that. And, but...
You think that's a shift? Is there a shift, Jeff? Is there a shift towards that?
Well, I think every year, Vikram, there's more and more mediation that takes place. More and more lawyers become accustomed to it and learn to love mediation, learn how and when to use it, how to be effective advocates. I think that lawyers are under pressure from court systems to resolve cases outside of the court system, not using the public resources of the taxpayer-funded court system. I think lawyers are under pressure from clients, at least in the business and commercial settings, to get cases resolved faster and quicker and more affordably. So I think that we are indeed seeing that. And I think that there's reason for tremendous optimism that as time goes on, that's only going to be going in one direction. And that'll be towards greater acceptance and greater use and better and more intelligent use of the services that we have to offer. With that, Vikram, I must say thank you, and I must take my leave of this happy group. I hope to see everybody here on Thursday morning. Next Thursday, we have Professor Michael Moffitt from the University of Oregon talking about managing malpractice risks for mediators, the so-called settle and sue phenomenon. Is it real? Is it imaginary? What are its implications? And how can we do our jobs better to protect ourselves from potential malpractice claims and potential malpractice liability along the way? And I know everybody will want to check that out. The registration link is available at our website, which is willworkforfood.news. And it's tremendous that Natalie organized this project. I'm just honored to be part of it. It's a delight to work with Jean, and most recently, Sarah's come on board. It's a great team, and I'm just so happy to be part of it. And Vikram, I want to thank you for having us on your program here to help draw attention to it. And if people have ideas for future speakers, please contact one of us. I think we're all on LinkedIn. We're pretty easy to find. And Vikram, I just want to thank you for your continual support of the Will Work for Food project. You're frequently there, and you're watching and listening and asking good questions and contributing to the success of the project. And it's just a delight being with all of you. So with that, I'm going to take my leave, and thank you all very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jeff. You won't get the last word.
Bye.
Thank you very much for coming on the show, and obviously putting out that whole the Will Work for Food program and working with Natalie and Jean and Sareh to do that. I think it's an excellent thing that you people are doing.
They're beautiful minds, as are you, Vikram, and so much more. Okay, thanks everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
thanks, Jeff. But Jeff is going. You people are here.
Actually, I have to leave too. I have a very short finger.
But Sareh, before you leave, you just have to tell us now that you've got into this mediation world and whatever you're seeing, what are your experiences? What are you looking at from the perspective of the mediation world?
I'm not quite in yet. I'm just, trying to find the entry. I've talked about this a lot with different people. I think it's something that I didn't know when I decided to come to this field, is that it's a field. It's like a circle without an entry point. So you have to go around it for 1,000 times, and then you find a little hole to get into. I am looking for that hole. Over the past few months, after I met Natalie, and then I met Jean. Jean was very kind and generous, just like Natalie, and she welcomed me to her mediations. And so through her, I could get a real sense of what our actual mediations, it look like. And so there are like 1,000 kinds of them, but at least, I had that experience over the summer with Jean, which I'm really grateful for. And I'm looking for more experiences like that until I figure out that what is it that I can do in this field that suits me the best.
So Jean, is it that tough to get into the field?
It can be a challenge. Yes. I came in from practice, and so I can't imagine Sareh coming in straight out of law school and with her LLM like that. But yes, it's very different, and that's a whole different topic for another day. It flows, but it's a whole different approach than what you may have used when you were in practice to build your legal practice, and you quickly realize that. And Sareh was fantastic, and there were a couple of those mediations where she was shadowing me, where this one defense attorney in particular, he just took to her, and he would ask her opinion on things when we came back into his room. This was all on Zoom, of course, and just was very kind. And Sareh is going to be a fantastic mediator someday. Yeah, you will be. And this whole thing with Zoom and everything, it certainly makes it, she and her generation are the future of mediation, actually. I'm seeing so many more young people get into it straight away as they begin their careers or early in their careers, rather than having a whole career behind them and then moving into mediation. So when you talk about the future of mediation, it's not just the little kids who are watching, the trial of Goldilocks and figuring out how they can mediate it instead of be the prosecutor or whoever. It's folks like Sareh and people her generation and a little older who are actually making the move into it at this stage in their careers and their lives.
But Jean, I don't know whether you would agree with me, but what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to bring people who have that natural ability, who are doing that in schools and communities, getting them and making they should be practicing the profession, because I think there is some disconnect in terms of, I feel, that user experience issue, that the right people who have that natural ability are not coming into the profession. So I'm trying to expand it to that level, that the people who are already trusted by people to resolve the disputes. And I mean, these are, I'm saying, like a school situation is just could be a group of friends, they know who the person is. And of course, in communities, there are people, and traditional communities, in the symposium, we've been talking to that. There are already people who are trusted. So getting them into the profession, how do we do that? Maybe Natalie will tell us that. Natalie, what do you think?
I think it starts from a very young age, just having the conversation, just making our industry terms part of their regular daily vocabulary. So for example, my daughter is a third generation in the resolution industry. So my father is a full-time practitioner. I do my work. My daughter was a peer mediator when she was in junior high and high school, actually helping her fellow students resolve cases, actually serving as the mediator in an informal setting, but she was actually the liaison for communication. And so I think when you just have the conversation, when you encourage people to use their words, when you encourage people, to take a deep breath, we can absolutely solve this. Let's talk about it for a minute. And you can teach them how to have those conversations. I think, it starts with good communication from grandparents and parents and children, teachers, and all of those different examples. I think that really is going to be the game changer.
Well, the question that I ask the children from school is, who is that person that you trust who helps you resolve the dispute? So they've identified those people. So I'm saying, if those people are already identified at that young age, they are the ones we need out there, because they would give the best user experience, because they're doing it naturally all the time.
So sure, but then I think there's the extra component of, I don't know that there are that many parents or grandparents or school counselors or professors who say to a young person, your personality traits would be perfect as a mediator, or your personality traits really lend to being a peacemaker, or your personality traits really you should be in a school of diplomacy. And I think that showing that mediators and arbitrators, facilitators, early neutral evaluators, our whole spectrum of professionals is an actual profession, then those individuals who have that influence over young people could point them in our direction and say, you've got the right, temperament to be a mediator. I think maybe, you really should go over to this school and find a mediation training, or have you ever considered being a peacemaker? Or I think that's not yet a normal conversation for those individuals who help guide young people. They just don't consider our industry as one of the options.
Because I call that having the mediator mindset. Even this In Conversation with the Beautiful Mind, I put it out as having conversations with those with a mediator mindset. So they're not, they might not be practicing as mediators, maybe not, but do they have the mindset? So I think we just have to identify those people and get them into the fold. But how do we show them that, yes, there is, look, finally it's all down to showing them the money also. And which is again an issue in most places with the court system and the way that has set up the whole thing, where mediators are getting almost close to nothing in the court system. That is becoming a challenge. So how do we show them that on one end you have a litigating lawyer who's charging in the thousands of dollars for a hearing? I'm telling you about India. Tens of thousands of dollars, and then on the other end you show the court system where the guy gets maybe not even $20. So how do we show them that difference? If the court system, for me, the court system is an issue. I mean, we have to, for me, being someone who only is a mediator, for me, that aspect has to just be shut down. I think just the total disservice to the profession that is doing only for the self-interest of the courts, but they can't handle the backlog. So I think that's a big issue that I am looking at.
I think that, finding ourselves in that position, that's our own fault. Because we have to set our own self-worth. We have to establish that we're valuable, and then we have to back that up with our actions. So I think that for a lot of us, it's important to do those kinds of cases to get the experience necessary, right? So we want to hear 10 of those cases or 20 of those cases, or we want to hear a certain number of hours as a volunteer mediator, but you have to set the goal. You have to set the deadline for yourself. And then beyond that, you have to say, I'm not available to hear those kinds of mediations. The bailiff gets paid, the judge gets paid, the lawyers get paid, I'm valuable and I need to be paid as well. And it takes all of us as a collective to say that we have value, that what we do is worth it. And that is not to say that in those situations where it's an issue of access to justice, or for those individuals who can't afford going through the formalized systems of things or paying for those, that we can't make ourselves available to them as volunteers. That's the philanthropic end of our industry, and that's a whole other conversation. But for paid mediations, we need to get paid also, and it just requires us having stiff enough spine to say, nope, not going to give it away for free. My time is valuable, my experience is valuable, the result that I get has value, and you need to pay me for it.
Natalie, I think you've picked up something which actually, if Jeff was here, he's actually spoken about this. He's actually quite vocal about this now. I hear him talking about this. His own in the symposium, also in his session, he was speaking about this, that he used to give that half day free. All these people used to come to him for that half day. He used to ask them, what about otherwise after this? Because the whole hope is that you'll get some work as part of your private practice. He says they won't take it. And they used to tell him, you've offered the free half day, we're going to take that. So what he's also been saying is that there is this young lot of people who comes into the court system thinking exactly what you're saying. We'll get some experience here. In some way, the lawyers will look at us and say, yes, we want to give you private work. And in that hope, they keep doing that. Then he says they get disillusioned. They go out. A new lot comes in. So the lawyers are doing what they're doing. Everyone is doing what they're doing. But these guys, a new lot keeps coming in. So, and the whole, according to us, mediation should be, the focus should be around the mediator. But that's the only one who is not at all valued in the entire chain. So for me, this is something what I'm going to start a movement saying everyone who at any point of does free. This also, I'll tell you what Jeff uses the word. He says free and pro bono. He's using both the things. I'll tell you what he was saying. But what I'm saying is that if they're doing free work in the court, they're affecting my livelihood, because I'm practicing as a mediator only. So how should you be doing that? I'm going to put these maybe demonstrations outside courts everywhere.
Right. And I agree, Vikram. Again, I'll say, you have to have experience. You do need to do that, but that should be on the philanthropic end of things. That's for community mediation centers. That's for access to justice. And go be a volunteer there. Get your feet wet, refine your art, really get the science of the thing, really get to understand, your impact on the people in the room. And the court programs and litigated cases, those need to be paid cases.
Exactly. And paid at market value and market price.
And all that requires is that we as a collective, we as an industry just say, yeah, sorry, we're not working for free anymore.
Exactly. I think that's the only way it's going to be done. Because let me tell you the difficulty that the courts have. Someone's come to the court because they want the court to give them justice, to give them a judgment. Now the court tells them, because obviously there's so much backlog, they tells them, no, you go for mediation first. Now, if you are sending them to a process which they did not come to you for, how can you tell them to pay for it? Because they did not come to you for that. So now if you cannot ask them to pay for it, how will you pay the mediator? Will the state fund it to that extent? Will the state give the amount at market value? State will not want to do it. So they get these people into the fold, okay, whatever, showing them this thing, you're getting experience. But this free and pro bono aspect, exactly what Jeff was talking about. This was the Beverly Hills Bar Association. He was talking there. And he says that the place that you are in, all these large companies are there. This is not pro bono. This is free. Pro bono happens in a situation, yes, the person can't afford, and there's a whole system for it with the lawyers also. So other way, Natalie, what I'm thinking is maybe what we can tell the courts is that you have a mediation cell and you have a litigation cell. The lawyer in the litigation cell can charge only as much as is paid to the mediator. I'm telling you, the entire mediation cell will be closed down day one. It's going to happen. But Sareh wants to leave. Okay, Sareh, thank you very much. You don't have to put it in the chat. You can just say so. You can say so. It's okay.
I just didn't interrupt you. Sorry.
Okay. So I think thank you very much for coming in.
Yeah,
thank you. You have wonderful people to work with. So I'm sure you'll do good things there.
Yeah. I'll see you all on Thursday, hopefully.
Hey, have a good weekend.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
So I'm thinking, yeah, I think that is one way to go about it. So if the lawyers can charge what they want, and the mediator should get, I don't know what it is right now in the different courts. So just why should that discrimination happen? Let everyone be paid the same, no problem. A lawyer has to work at only $40 an hour, no, nothing more than that. Then it's fair, then it's equal, then you get then that whole access to justice and everything they keep talking about.
No, I think you're right. Now, Jean has different kinds of cases that she hears. And so when she's here, you can explain this, Jean. For some of the cases that you hear, you have a different rate because it's an access to justice issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are certain types of cases where, I know the defendants, well, some of them are big corporations, so they can certainly afford to pay, full freight. But there are others where they're individuals are paying and their small businesses are out of their own pockets. They don't have an insurance company paying for the mediation or whatever. And I've done a number of those at a lower, reduced rate, basically access to justice. Yeah.
Well, Jean, I have a bit of an issue of the usage of the word access to justice with mediation. I'm saying access to justice was for the court system to give justice. That is what the system was. I mean, that is where justice has to come from. It's like saying if mediation is access to justice, it's like saying two people, they resolve the dispute between themselves and they've got access to justice. It's just, I mean, not even connected. I'm saying it's not even connected to each other. Their access to justice is with the court system, and under the constitution, you have this whole setup and everything. Because they're inefficient. I've been saying throughout the symposium, you'll hear me, I said the court should put a board outside saying we deny justice, because justice delayed is justice denied. Walk in at your own risk of time, money, and peace of mind. That's the court system, and it's their issue. They have to multiply the judges by 500,000 times. Let them do that. But the fact is that mediation is such a diametrically opposite thing, which has nothing to do with the court system. So once you start getting into it, because the fundamental issues there, the base is totally wrong. So they keep coming, various countries keep coming up with various things. Mandatory mediation has to be done in this way. You'll have to go about this way. So the mediator will not be paid anything, but okay, maybe a very nominal amount, and all these absurd things will keep happening around it, because you're connecting two things which are not to be connected at all. They're totally different aspects. Access to justice is you make your courts efficient. If you're an inefficient institution, I don't know about the US, I mean, how much time it takes. I know that India, you can have matters going for 20 plus years. So in that kind of a situation, and I tell you what I've also been commenting on is that, say in an Indian situation, here is a concept of kind of mandatory. You have to, the judge has to decide, yes, the matter is fit for mediation and send it there. The time that the judge is spending and the entire matter goes through pleadings and everything, and then they decide. The issue that I'm seeing there is that the time that judge spends there is one guy sitting in jail somewhere who's not even getting bail because the judge doesn't have time to take up the matter. And here you're counseling parties to go for mediation. I find that quite strange, because you are supposed to be, I mean, for even like, I'm telling you, this is the entire colonial mindset that we can keep a person in jail for as long as we want. It's like we are the colonizer. I mean, come off it. The guy for 1 hour also should not be behind bars. You should be so efficient that in 1 hour you should be giving him justice. That is access to justice. That you can't, I mean, you can't hold a person in prison and take away his basic rights just because you are inefficient. So I think we have to start looking at, I mean, questioning the court system, which people, again, like I'm saying, the colonial concept that the courts are there. In India, judges are referred to as your lordship. We still have, the British have gone, but they are still the lordship. Our civil procedure code is 1908. We got independence in 1947. Our Indian penal code is 1860. Can you imagine that? If the colony piece, we might not be a colony anymore, but that mindset continues. So I don't know about the US, what the mindset situation is. I mean, you'll know better, but is there a concept there in terms of mindset towards the courts?
My whole background is with the courts and litigation. So for me, mediation and the trial courts or appellate courts they're interwoven. Almost every case would go to mediation. And I have occasionally said to some people, whatever happened to the skill set of a lawyer being able to call up their opposing counsel and be able to work out a settlement, and just do it you know, one-on-one without having to go to mediation. You know, that's a skill set I think that is maybe being lost as well. But so for me, they're they're tied together. Thank you. Inexplicably tied together. It's still early, you know. So I don't know. I've never been involved in the criminal. Our civil judges are civil. They're not criminal, so they're not taking time away from the criminal aspects of things. You know, we have juvenile, we have family law, we have general civil, appellate. They're very specialized, if you will, departments that handle different kinds of cases.
But Jean, 100 million cases filed in trial courts. I couldn't understand that. 300 million population, 100 million cases. Is that the right figure? Is that correct? I don't even know. I picked it up from, this is the University of Denver. Their figures, they've put up a document out. Yeah.
I have no idea if those numbers are right or not, but
no, I would just think that they would put the right figures out. I would think that this is what it says.
I would think so.
This is what it says. This is what they say there. More than 100 million cases are filed each year in state trial courts.
That's state too, not even federal.
Yeah.
So another 400,000 in federal. Wow.
I mean, I'm just not being able to understand this, because if that is the situation, then first of all, I mean, let's look at it from the mediation perspective. Are we getting there? I mean, why are these going straight to so many going to court? Because I'm telling you, if you look at it from that population perspective, I mean, 300 million population, 100 million cases in court.
But you just think, okay, you know, the phrases, I'll see you in court, you know, or sue me, or, you know, those are just colloquialisms in terms of phrases, but they're true. You've got a statute of limitations, you know, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, probably pretty much max, except for certain cases. But, you know, it's like you file your lawsuit and then you talk settlement is pretty much probably the norm compared to, you don't think, oh, I'm upset with you, I'm going to sue you. No, let's go to mediation first. Sometimes there are plenty of, you know, that may be getting to be more common, but filing the lawsuit first is why you see then statistics like that.
Because numbers, I just can't. I mean, whenever I I look at JAMS, this is the largest institution in terms of mediation in the world. 14,000 matters in the whole year. I mean, it's nothing. You have, on the other hand, you have 100 million cases there. Just can't figure out. Natalie has a lot of work to do. That's all I can understand.
There's a lot of work for mediators with those 100 million cases.
That's what I'm trying to say. This should be the first port of call, but it's not happening. What is it? Look, I'm again saying that if the user experience was so good, in that many years, look, I do a matter, that company itself gives me 10 more immediately. So I'm just thinking, if the user experience was so good in those 40, 45 years, why has that not spread enough that people would have spoken about it? No, it doesn't work out. You should go through mediation first. Why are you even looking at courts? I mean, that discussion should have happened. And if that discussion is not happening, there's something fundamentally wrong there, Jean.
I don't know, but to me, it's not like mediation is out there as your first alternative. It's to me, maybe it's because of my background, mediation is what happens after you filed the lawsuit. Maybe you've done some discovery and then you go and mediate it. And the percentage of cases that settle and do not go to trial is very high, 98, 99%. It's somewhere in the high 90s%. I'm sure it changes periodically, and I don't have that number off the top of my head, but you know, most cases do not go to trial, but so that means they settle. So they either settle by the lawyers or the people calling each other up and resolving it directly, or mediation. Some of them get sent to, excuse me for saying it, but to arbitration because they don't belong in the court system, you know. Some of them get resolved on summary judgment and then go up to the appellate courts. So to me, again, I'm only speaking for myself, but my experience is the lawsuits get filed and then you go to mediation.
Okay, how do we change that? Because I'm telling you, the US model, for some reason, everyone looks at the US from the mediation perspective. And I'm trying to say, don't look at the US just like that in terms of so many years of mediation there. Dig a little deeper and see what the ground realities are. Because I do a little Google search and on the community mediation, what do I find? 400 community mediation centers, 400,000 matters in the whole year.
Well, this is why I say there's a difference in the type of issue. Some employment issues, they'll go straight to mediation. Labor issues, maybe they'll go straight to mediation. Community disputes, things like that. Think of how many lawsuits there would be if there are already 100 million. Well, 100 million plus another 400,000. That doesn't even count all those, the ones that settled directly in some form or fashion, whether through formal mediation or just some dispute resolution mechanism. This, and I don't know how that breakdown is of the 100 million. Is it civil litigation, or is it family law, or what? Family law, you got to file something to get the decree.
But they haven't spoken about that. It just said 100 million there. But even the community mediation centers, I'm just thinking that in that many years, because I was speaking to someone from Chile. In Chile, she's talking about 400 mediation centers. And you can understand what the size of Chile is. And here we're talking about the US 400 community mediation centers in the last 40, 45 years. So there is a fundamental issue somewhere. What I've been saying is because the right people are not doing the mediation. We are not getting the right people in. And these are the people I'm saying that who have that natural ability somewhere. Natalie won't agree with me because obviously, I'm sure you won't, but I am saying that these people are out there. Let's bring them into the fold who are actually giving people a good user experience without them being in the profession. That's one child who is actually the one everyone goes to, and the child resolves their dispute and everyone goes back happy. Why is that child not part of the system? If the child is not there, and like Natalie said, who is anyone telling them that this is a profession you should look at? And if they're not telling them, is a profession looked at only from the perspective of how much you can earn from it? And from that end, definitely being a mediator would not look the same as being a litigating lawyer. So I think that is maybe
they need to earn a living. They need to earn a living. They need some life experiences. I mean, that's one thing against somebody just coming straight in, if they don't have, a variety of life, but we all bring our life experiences. But things are so specialized, at least here, and Natalie, you see it worldwide, but with the specialized niches, then you need to have some life experiences in those areas to be able to talk the talk and help settle the cases.
Yeah.
I think we've got a lot of the right people in our industry. I think we've done really well. What we haven't been able to break through, in my opinion, is the glorification. And we have a huge industry that glorifies litigation on television and film. So you have all of these various programs, and have had for decades, all of these programs that glorify the litigated process, and almost none that explains or shows in a true fashion what we do as mediators or what we do as arbitrators. There isn't a television series. There's no Law and Order. There's no film that accurately portrays what we do and how we do it. And we have for decades glorified the courts. We've glorified this authority figure. We've glorified the lawyers. We've glorified the litigation process. And we've done nothing to educate or show or glorify the resolution industry. And so people don't know what we do. They really don't know, what sorry, you want me to go meditate on the thing? I don't want heavy breathing. I want the thing resolved. So you have to explain what we do. And it's a scary thing. So when somebody's in trouble, they know, or they think they know, what litigation looks like because they've seen it on TV. They've seen it in film. They know who those people are and they kind of know their role in it, but they don't know what mediation looks like. And it's one more scary thing in an already stressful time. So if we had programs that accurately portrayed who we are and what we do and how we do it, I think you'd see a very quick turnaround and acceptance of our industry as the first stop and not the last.
So that's interesting. There was a TV series which started something called The Mediator. What was that about?
LL Cool J.
What was that about? I didn't see any of that, but what was that? Was it really what mediation or what? What was it?
I didn't get to see it. It was on a subscription program that we're not allowed to have in France, so I don't know.
Jean, did you have a look at it?
I have not. It's on my to-do list at some point to go check it out, but I haven't done it yet.
So we have to check it out. Maybe it's just giving the wrong impression somewhere. We don't know what it's about.
Yeah. So I think that's a big barrier to entry for our industry. And, you know, this is not the first time we've had this conversation. We've been having this conversation for decades. And that is about, you know, how do you educate, how do you show the general public what we are? And that might lead us back to the conversation about why it's important to have these YouTube channels. Why is it important for us to have these articles? Why is it important for us to show people what we do? Well, maybe one by one, we start that wheel turning.
No, I have a thought on that, which I'm working on. Let's see how it goes. This is exactly what I'm thinking. That's the way it has to happen. People should actually experience the real thing. So there is work on that, which I need to do, which I'm thinking of, but let's see, that will take its time. But I think
maybe Apple TV will, you know, let you start a little series on that.
Exactly. I think that's what so Jean, you have such interesting ideas, such interesting thing. Please, your YouTube channel is going to be an interesting YouTube channel.
Well, thank you. Well, as Natalie was talking, I was thinking of Judge Judy, and who was the original judge that went on TV? It was back in the 80s or so. Remember the judge? Anyway, but like Judge Judy and
but you know that, Jean, you know that Ken Cloak was supposed to do that show. That he said he spoke about that. He was
really?
Yeah. For what reason it didn't happen, I have to check that out. But he has spoken about that.
Yeah. Interesting.
I don't know.
Anyway,
well, Vikram, it was a great pleasure talking to you. I need to excuse myself, but I had a fantastic time participating in your series. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Natalie, for coming in.
It's
nice talking to you, and obviously good work that you're doing. It's really nice and you're going to do more interesting things there. So thank you very much. Thank you, Jean.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, and all the best to you.
And waiting for the announcement on the YouTube channel, the big one. Because we got so many interesting things. We have stories from fairy tales. We have a lot of other things coming up. Please, Natalie, we need a good promotion, a promo video for her YouTube channel.
Okay.
We'll get it out, and like I said, the trick to success is that we all share and support each other.
That's what I keep saying. I think we have to educate people on the very basics. That where is that share button? Where is that notification button on YouTube? Where is the subscribe button? I think we need to do that. So Thank you very much, and please stay in touch with what I'm doing. Nice to have. If there's a lecture series, please come there. Ken Cloak's coming on that lecture series, so please be a part of that. So
Will do.
See you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.